Imagine a war where the enemy was hated not just for their weapons, but for who they were. On the morning of June 22, 1941, when Nazi Germany launched its invasion of the Soviet Union, this was not merely a military operation. It was a collision of ideologies. But on the Eastern Front, the German army encountered something they had never faced before: women standing on the battlefield, with rifles in their hands. This war was different from anything Germany had fought in Western Europe. Nazi propaganda had long portrayed the Soviet population as less than human, and that belief fueled extraordinary brutality as German forces advanced eastward. Yet what disturbed many German soldiers most was not only ideology or race, but the reality that Soviet women were fighting as equals alongside men. In the German worldview, the battlefield was no place for a woman. Women were meant to serve behind the lines, not on the front. But the Soviet Union believed differently. Men and women were considered equally responsible for defending the motherland, equally capable of bearing arms, and equally expendable in war. Soviet women served not only as nurses or clerks, but as anti-aircraft gunners, fighter and bomber pilots, and deadly snipers whose reputations spread fear through German ranks. Some flew night bombing missions so relentless that German soldiers gave them a mocking yet fearful name. Others became elite marksmen, silently reshaping the battlefield one shot at a time. By the end of the war, nearly 1 million Soviet women had served in uniform, and hundreds of thousands were decorated for bravery. But to the German military mindset, this was unacceptable. Armed women were not seen as soldiers, but as proof, so they believed, of moral and ideological decay. When Soviet female soldiers fell into German hands during the early months of the invasion, the response was often vicious. They were not treated as prisoners of war. They were insulted, dehumanized, and frequently marked for death simply for wearing a uniform. Within days of the invasion, illegal orders began circulating through German command structures. Women in uniform were to be executed. Although some of these orders were officially withdrawn, many commanders continued to enforce them. Entire units carried out shootings on the spot, recording the deaths of captured Soviet women as routine reports. Male Soviet prisoners were usually sent to POW camps, where conditions were already horrific. Starvation, exposure, and abuse were common. But for women, there was often no system at all. Some were handed over to the SS. Many were sent to notorious concentration camps reserved for women, where survival was unlikely. Faced with capture, some Soviet women chose death by their own hands rather than what they knew awaited them. Their choices revealed the terror of a war where being both a soldier and a woman could mean instant execution. This is not just a story about World War II. It is a story about fear of equality, fear of shattered traditions, and fear of those who refuse to accept assigned roles. On the Eastern Front, the war was fought not only with bullets and tanks, but with ideology that stripped people of their humanity. And this history matters because it stands as a warning. When hatred defines the enemy and ideology outweighs humanity, the consequences are always catastrophic.